Everyone, I want to welcome all of you to this evening's general meeting. We have a pretty full agenda this evening. We also have a presentation. So I'll call our meeting to order. We have attendance, moment of silence, council agenda acceptance, rules of order, follow-up from the last meeting of March 23rd, 2017. A presentation on IFN Youth Conference participants that happened a couple of weeks ago. We want to provide a council year in review on some of the priorities and strategic objectives in which we've been working on over the last year. We have business from the floor. We have a resolution accepting the last general meeting minutes and a number of announcements that we'd like to make. So, could I have a mover to accept the agenda? Joe, second. By Steve, all in favor? Thank you. So as we've been doing as part of our general meeting cancellation protocol, we've been observing a moment of silence for those members that we've lost over the last month since the last general meeting. So we'll do that now. Observe a moment of silence in recognition of those community members and those affected by grief over the last month. All right, thank you. On behalf of council, we extend our condolences to all those affected. Okay, for this evening, we do have the rules of order, which are in your agenda packages, which I will go overview them for you. The meetings do start at 6 p.m. and will run to about 8 p.m. depending on the agenda and the business from the floor. Personal issues will not be dealt with in the public forum at this general meeting. If there are any personal issues, I will ask that they be taken either one-on-one with the chief or portfolio or myself to discuss, but it will not be dealt with in a public forum. If there are questions regarding the presentations or during the business from the floor section, I ask that you please raise your hand. I will start a list and acknowledge you when it's your turn to speak or ask a question. We ask that please stick along the lines of the agenda. Business from the floor is at the end of the meeting, so that questions be related to the presentation which is ongoing. And if there are a list of issues from this general meeting that we can't address or we may not have the answer to, we will create a list of follow-up items and we will report them back at the next general meeting, and also can report them back to you directly if you like. Also, I believe this is our fourth general meeting now that we are recording the general meetings, which are being recorded and will be televised to the community at another date, usually the day after or the day after that, in which we've set up some signage here also. This is an effort to ensure that all the information we provide to you as a community is getting out to as many community members as possible. It's our commitment to ensuring that we reach as many members as possible and as many means as possible. So if anybody ever wants a copy of the meeting, we can also provide that too, which we put on a DVD or a USB stick to be recorded, to be played at a later date for you. So we ask that you please be mindful of that. So with that, we'll go through quickly the follow-up action items from March 23rd, which was the last general meeting held in Gisnina. There's only one item that was asked to follow up on, and that's community members' question why the MRP law, which went into effect on November 2016, doesn't grandfather in people in before 2016. And according to the law itself, which was approved by Resolution 2013-14-279, the law went into effect on June 2014. In Section 3.2CI, for asserting rights or obligations under this law, so long as any application by a former spouse in commencement within 1 year of the date of separation. Section 4.3E, this law applies in respect to interests of upsustain lands, whether or not they were acquired on or before the law takes effect. Section 5.1, this law applies to members, a child, and a non-member who are a spouse of a member. Section 7.5, this section applies whether the parties enter into domestic agreement before or after the date of the law comes into force and effect. So the question was raised specifically a section in the law. At the time we didn't have a copy of the law, so we've now cited that section about the coming comments on that? From council? Okay. All right, so that was the one follow-up item we had from the last general meeting of March 23rd, which was held in the district of Usaina. So at this time, I'd like to turn the floor over to Chief Ken Thompson, who is the IFN lead for the Mock Council. He will introduce our guests and presenters this evening. I'll ask him to provide a bit of background as to what the presentation is about, and we can ask some of the presenters or participants to come forward.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Mohawk Council, we'd like to welcome the IFN Youth Conference delegates to the Mohawk Council General Meeting. The Mohawk Council of Wapatosna is a member of the Independent First Nation, of which there are 12 First Nations in Ontario that are independent of any political organization. On March 22nd to March 27th, the IFN held their third annual youth conference titled Healthy Leaders, Healthy Communities. At this conference, there were 31 First Nations in Ontario represented, of which there were 55 female reps and 45 male reps. Each of the 12 communities in the IFN was asked to select 6 delegates to attend this year's youth conference in Thunder Bay. Our Mohawk government staff worked with our Mohawk Council Communications Unit, utilizing Facebook and messaging to get the message out of any young people who might be interested in attending this conference. We had a number of interested delegates who had expressed interest in attending. Although we were allowed only 6 delegates, we were able to secure 10 seats for the opposition delegates. With comments coming from the conference, such as, I want to give you an update on the opposition youth. I just wanted to say, you should be very proud of your youth. They are representing your community well and have stepped up to the plate in providing cultural songs and a Thanksgiving address when Minister Zimmer arrived. This was a comment we received from Lydia Jones. With that said, we are very proud to each and every one of our young people represented at the conference. You truly are the ambassadors of Akwesasne. With that said, I would like each of them to introduce themselves, and they have a presentation to make also.
I'm Gahandawix Perkins. I'm the media coordinator for the Native North American Traveling College, and I was one of the Akwesasne delegates that went to the IFN. Saigon Kaylee Jocko. I also went and represented Akwesasne. My parents are Corley Jocko and Alan Jocko. My parents are Roger Perkins and Maxine Perkins.
So, Luego. My name is Tina Square, or Filipino. I was one of the Akwesasne delegates, and I work at the Native North American Traveling College as a culture educator. My parents are Lori Gray and Theodore Square.
Hi, I'm Louisa Hawe Lazor, one of the delegates. And my parents are Cindy and Lyle Lazor.
Hi, my name is Anthony Edwards. I'm the Cultural AV Technician at the Native North American Traveling College. And I guess my parents would be Benedios Edwards and Eric Brooks.
Hello, my name is Donovan Thompson, and I work at the Native North American Traveling College as a cultural educator. And my father's Ivan Thompson.
My name is Jonathan Jacobs. I'm a delegate, and my parents are Regina Jacobs and Carlos Rivera.
Hi, my name is Keisha Mitchell. I was also a delegate, and I work at ACFS. And my mother is Steve Mitchell.
Yeah, and we have some people that aren't here. There's Satgun Hildufa, Neil, I'm not sure what her last name is, and DJ Low, and yeah, they're not here right now. So I guess what I wanted to start off with is to say thank you to everyone that made it possible so that we could go there. And I guess for me, going there, it was really like be able to see how other Aboriginal communities are, and you're able to see what we take for granted here in Akwesasne. And what I mean by that is other Aboriginal communities, they're not as advanced as we are. And I never seen that before because I never experienced something like this. So I just wanted to say thank you to the IFN, committee and MCA, all the chiefs and everybody that made it possible so that we could go.
Alright, yeah, let's realize that Dalton was talking with his arms, but kind of getting jabbed a little bit. So I guess when it comes to the session topics right now, it goes as art as an alternative, which was focused with art as, I suppose, is a different medium to expressing yourself, and also in terms of healthy communications and storytelling. Family violence prevention, that was something I'm actually not entirely confident with. And healthy communications, that's something I'll be talking about later. The T4T facilitator training, team building with Stan Wesley, Safe Talk, Team Proceed, going live, Haudenosaunee Healing Committee, resolutions to truth and reconciliation, and Sacred Fire, and of course, dance and karaoke.
I was one of the delegates that did the art as an alternative. There was also Tina and Neil. Just Neil. We did improv games, graphic art, expression art, express our life stories, theater for living, talked about mental health and addiction within our class, and where do you find strength? This is a picture of our art class and everyone from the different communities in it. IFN decided to change their logo for next year's, that goes on all of our sweaters and stuff. Neo was the one that designed it. And Art as an Alternative also changed their logo as what they're supposed to be as. And this is Tina's expression on all of like our circle time that we did in our class. And this is our pictures that, like, the bottom one on the left side is how to express our, like, body language and how we did story time with it. This one up top is where do you find strength, and we all talked about where we got it from. Most people got it from music, traveling, being on stage, guitar, doing whatever they had to do to become healthy again. And this is our mental health and addictions and what we got it from. So most people got like alcoholism, anger, depression, drug addiction, racial self-love, and our teacher had just sat on the floor and wrote down everything and drew everything out that we all talked about.
So a lot of us were in this family violence prevention workshop, and at first, of course, we did a bunch of icebreakers, introduce ourselves, where we're from, and I was a little late, so I didn't get to do that because we showed up at like 4 in the morning. Yeah, the flights were whack. So one of our first things that we did was a family dynamic scenario. So first we all yelled out who was in this family. There was a mother, a grandmother, a father, two children. One of the kids had a kid, and then the grandparents, and we had to give them different scenarios and struggles that they had to deal with, and it ended up getting pretty out of hand. So we did learn a lot, but it was different, but we learned. Another thing, we did group topics, and we had to write down all the things that came to mind. Some of the group topics was residential schools, broken treaties, the fur trade, 60s scoop, and Indian Act, and we all shared our thoughts on what we wrote down and why it made us think of those things that we wrote down. I took a picture, but I didn't get a chance to put it in the slide. And it was a lot of slideshows, but they kept it interactive. And another slideshow that they did was how to communicate effectively. Being conscious of the words you choose, like positive and negative, and using more I statements instead of you statements. And they showed us a consent video. It's called a consent tea.
It was just basically all the different ways that people are talking about consent and how they're talking about date rape and things like that, things that are common that aren't really talked about as much as we think they are. And they just, did a spotlight on that. They showed us like the popular videos that are online, and they're really fun.
It was basically, don't force someone to drink tea if they tell you they don't want tea. And another thing on how to be more comfortable to say no when you don't want to do something, peer pressure, or if you don't want to have sex, even if it's your significant other, it's okay to say no. And they had us do a bunch of anti-rape posters. And after all of those heavy discussions, we opened up the floor and asked people if they wanted to share anything or talk about anything or had any questions, just to like kind of debrief. And then we did a more fun and light activity after that, so it wasn't so heavy on our minds afterwards, so we weren't stuck in that like negative fog. And that is all.
So here's one of the posters that we were looking at for sexual abuse doesn't discriminate. That was one of our main messages for the group. And in the end, we ended up putting all of ours together because we couldn't choose which one was the best.
So, healthy communication and essential life skills. Now, I don't only put like 3 bulletins in here, but there's just a plethora of just issues, a plethora of activities, and it really just goes down to what really is healthy communication, and later what is essential life skills. They're very related. Because, well, you have to conversate in work, friendships, families. They're all relationships that you need to really have a healthy communication with. It's something that people don't have as a natural talent for. It's something to be learned. It's like a muscle. You can work with it. So when it comes to relationship building, there's a huge difference between how you talk to your family compared to how you talk to your boss. That's something that we really wanted to make sure that was clear with activities. You wouldn't say, "What's up?" to your boss. You would say like, "Good morning." But somebody who comes to your family, it would be a little bit different. Also relations with romantic relationships, and of course that kind of like presented this like weird like, oh well, how would you introduce yourself kind of activities. Oh, and before I continue on, I had Veggie Joel Mitchell with us, and we just kind of like just stuck together. It was a healthy communication class, but we didn't really do a lot of communicating with the other members. So I thought that was just a. Oh yeah, that's right. I actually went to the as an alternative when ours was over. That was actually pretty fun. But anyway, it kind of starts off in terms of like introducing ourselves. What's the one person in your life that really mattered to you? And of course people say, oh my mom, oh my dad. But there were some people like, somebody I've seen on TV. Oh, that's different. That's kind of like a unique perspective. And some people actually said like a program, a person that motivated them to be their very best. So we start off with those type of icebreakers when it came to relationship building. You know, it just, oh, one activity that I really enjoyed was, how would you introduce yourself if you guys were interviewing each other to hang out? You know, you get like a card, you go to another person at another table, and go, hi, I like long walks on the beach. I really enjoy cat videos, and I'm always willing to learn something new. And you let them, and then of course you let them, you know, have to say their end of the bargain. So there was kind of cool, interactive, I want to say, about it. So, when it comes to self-communication, now this is going to go with the, I didn't mean to trip this. That when it goes to healthy communication and essential life skills, that's where the self-communication comes to. This was about learning to say no. If I could really describe that as just as a general thing, how to say no and how to not sound blunt, you know, angry, spiteful, but a respectable saying no. And that also comes with family, work, and relationships, romantic ones. So it kind of went with an activity of, how would you normally say no? I don't want to do it. You know, just blatantly out there, you know. And it's not really structured very well. So as a healthy way of doing that, it kind of goes like this. Let's say somebody wanted to ask me, can you shingle a roof? I hate it. So I can go, I know you really wanted me to shingle this roof for you. But I got a lot of stuff going on right now. I don't have time to shingle this roof, so I'm respectfully saying no. Which is a lot better saying, I don't want to do it because I'm lazy. You know, it's just a better way of, you know, communicating and how to properly say no. And that, like I said, goes to your boss, your coworkers, your friends, family. This is something that encompasses everything. So, pushy, confident, submissive leaders. Now, what this was talking about, we kind of took a little survey, you know, like really look inside yourself, kind of a moment like, you know, how quickly am I defensive? Let's be honest, out of 1 out of 5 in a moment, you circled that, and you tallied it, and it was kind of like this weird, like if you were between 34 and 75, you're this kind of, you know, tally mark. So that's where we get pushy, confident, submissive. Since the entire theme of IFN was leadership, and I have the leadership portion of this activity. So confident leaders tend to have like these pros and cons. Pushy leaders have these pros and cons. And submissive leaders have pros and cons. It's just something they need to work with. And of course, at the end of the day, he just stressed that you should be a confident leader and how body language can really be a good way to communicate that. And overall, I know like some people didn't really enjoy the class, in my personal opinion. But me, I really had a good time. You know, it was, you know, like I like the guy. What is his name? Like he kind of reminded me of myself. You know, he's just lots of energy, talks a little too much and stuff like that. And yeah. So that was one of those things. Yeah. Okay.
So the team for team facilitator training wasn't something I was really familiar with until I had gotten my own Safe Talk Assist training. It was offered while we were at the conference in Thunder Bay, so a lot of people could sign up if they didn't have the certification already. The first step of it is the Safe Talk certification, and that's a 3-hour workshop that you take, and it, at the end you get a certificate, you can put it on your resume, and it looks really good, and people look out for that. It's all about suicide prevention, but they try to stay away from like saying suicide prevention and more life promotions, and that's what the kind of new take they're trying to go with on that. And so if you wanted to go a step after that, it would be the assist training. And with the assist training, you are certified to hold your own workshops wherever you want. They give you a trainer number. You have to host 3 workshops in 1 year to keep your certification. And with both of these, you can do workshops. So myself and
Sunny, Braden White will be doing our first workshop here in Akwesasne, actually Saturday at the Traveling College's event for the CD release party. So we're looking forward to that. Yeah, it keeps popping up here and there, so thank you. Yeah, it's nice to see that we now have co-trainers and trainers in our community, and we can put these on as much as we want. It comes with a script, you read it right out of the book. It's the same delivery every single time, and it works. So it is a big issue here, and I'm glad that we're filling that gap now. And yeah, it's been popping up everywhere, and I was really happy to see it there. And I think Louisa Holly got it while we were up there. Yeah, and Keisha. And the digital look. So 3 of us already have it now, and yeah, we'll have some more workshops coming up in the next little bit. We'll keep you updated on that. So SAFE Talk is actually an acronym. It stands for Suicide Awareness for Everyone. Talk, ask, listen, and keep safe. And ASSIST is Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training.
Hello, good. So, team building with Stan Wesley. God, where do I really begin? I suppose I could just start off with introducing who Stan is as a person. I'm not sure if anyone here really knows Stan, has heard of his, what he does, or has even seen him for doing motivational speeches. But it's really a fun ride, and it's really something that really gets you going. So a little bit about Stan. Stan was born and raised in Boots Factory, Free Nation, Ontario. He's been doing motivational speeches, teaching people not to look on the dark side, but look on the bright side of your future. That it's never too late to improve yourself, and it's never too late to motivate yourself to achieve better things in your life. And he's been doing that for 20 years. This person, Mr. Wesley, has this, it's hard to explain, it's just this natural energy that you just get off of this person. Like, it's just, like in terms of when it came to his activities, everybody's groggy in the morning, everybody's tired. And like he would have these activities that for us to do, and of course a lot of us are reluctant, and a lot of us just don't want to, get up. But something about like his charisma, he was loud, he was active, and it kind of woke you up with whatever he had to say. So that's just something I really wanted to touch on when it came to Stan Wesley. And of course, a more of like a personal note. I was invited with Stan for the next IFN to actually be an MC. And I knew what Stan was doing, so it was great. Thank you. I wasn't aware I need to be like right here. Sorry, nobody's been here. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, his shoes were amazing. They looked like $5,000 each. Like it was amazing. Style. This man has style. So I immediately just see my face. I guess I'll speak about that one. This one was the activity where you had to make an animal noise, upon what he requested. If you're like a wolf, you gotta howl like a wolf, and if you're a bear, then you roar. And what was it, a horse? You had to like smack the tables, And like again, it was just like these cool activities that to kind of get you ready for the next programs. Now this next one here, I'm trying to decipher why we're hugging walls. Oh, that's right. Okay, so there was this 50-50 chance kind of game where you had so he would flip a coin, and he would call it to somebody, and he's like, what is it? And you made a choice whether heads or tails. So if you're like heads, you touch the top of your head with like both hands. And if those tails, you kind of had both your arms crossed to the behind you. And so he called on some person, but all right, what is it? They flip the coin and be like, tails. And those who had tails, they could just stay standing up. The heads, however, have to sit down. Now, of course, you weren't eliminated from the game because he gave you a second chance if you wanted to continue playing. So he devised these funny activities, like for this case for the wall, it was all right, okay, 1, 2, 3, you're gonna like they stuck on the wall like your Velcro or something. And like oh, and you know kind of went like that, and it was just a big laugh. It was a lot of fun, and of course you got to continue to play the game. I think we were playing for tickets. Yeah, we're playing 50-50 tickets. That was the objective of it. But of course, it was just a lot of fun. That's total? Yes, that's when I realized I was a sea otter. All right. So, so a little bit of backstory for that. When it came to this portion, they gave you this piece of paper and it had each animal. You know, like just tons and tons, pages of animals, and they had little characteristics of them. And like a lion was like brave, adventurous. Crocodile was smart and tenacious or something. You know, sorry. But anyway, and I chose sea otter. So we all got together and we decided to make like a giant totem pole. This was Stan's idea. Like, we're gonna raise the totem pole, and it was really funny. So we kind of like grouped together. We kind of like drew what our animals meant to us, and. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm missing a big portion. So when it came to I guess groups, I don't know what the criteria was. We were all kind of like separated into 10 teams, I believe. And excuse me. Oh, and yes, me and Jasmine were on the team, and of course with a bunch of amazing people like Jamie and Brody Paul. Just a lot of cool people that I was really happy to meet at IFN. And so that's where the going live portion later in the presentation will coincide. You were with your teams to kind of, I guess, as a format, to brainstorm ideas like your own name. I know for a fact that we were team 50 Shades of Scone. I know that was my team, which I didn't know that's what they called like fried bread up there. I was completely, oblivious. Yeah, if you guys want to do your teams, that'd be pretty cool. So yeah, 50 Shades of Scone.
The cousins.
The Sexy Sixes.
Oh, Rangers.
I was a part of Winona and the Funky Bunch. My group was called C4 for Community 4.
We're explosive.
Keisha was part of K9 because hers was group 9.
You know, like it was just a lot of like just funny stuff like that. We all come together, and there was a lot of collaboration. And that's what the team building was. That's what it was about. Identifying people who have leadership traits and were able to communicate with other people. That was honestly what I believe the reasoning behind these groups. So these groups throughout the entire time, they would do these funny activities they were supposed to do. And that's all I have to say about that.
So this picture here is actually from my group, the Sexy Sixes. Sante Colombiota Fox was in my group. That's him holding the water drum, and that's Caleb Turner holding the hand drum, and Chuck from Six Nations, and I can't remember his name now, but he's holding a rattle. He was from a different nation, but each of the groups were created randomly so that we weren't with that many of our own community members. So we got to network with all these different youth delegates from all these different nations. And these team building really helped us, create new friendships and new networks. And actually, there's Caleb Turner in the white shirt holding the hand drum. He's going to be coming to our CD release party, as well as Tyler Paul. They're going to be coming to our CD release party this weekend, which is really cool. They're from, Caleb is from Moose Factory and Mahogany. Yeah, Tyler's from Kamagami. Is that right? But this picture was taken we had to create two posters. One was inspirational, like an empowering poster, and the other one was just a silly, funny, like uplifting one. And this one we created together to show unity. And our little statement under it was coming together in unity, community. That was our poster. So we had all these different people from different nations and different tribes all together holding an instrument of empowerment and healing. So that was our poster. These are some of our delegates here that are in our groups. There's my group right there, 66s, Power Rangers, and the Community 4. Each team had to create a team name and a quote, and also a statement that goes along with your quote. That's supposed to be empowering to your community and to the youth and to everybody at the conference. I was really, really happy with our quote. It had to do with being humble as a leader. I think it was be humble, but not timid. So telling people that you, as a leader, you can't always depend on leadership to get things done. You can only really depend on the leader within yourself. So telling every single person that you can do it yourself. You're a leader. So don't be timid, but be humble.
So Team Pursuit and Going Live was two different activities that we did in the evenings whenever we were done our, we found in the beginning of the days, it was the more heavy stuff, the things we were getting our certification for and the hours we were putting in. Whereas the nighttime stuff, it was kind of like self-care and it was the fun team building things. And the Team Pursuit was actually a scavenger hunt, and it had, you had to download an app, so it was actually through an app, and it had all the different pictures that you had to get and different things, different tasks you had to complete as a team for points. And so that was 2 different nights. The Team Pursuit focused mainly on pictures, riddles, things like that. And then the Going Live was actually the same event, but in the middle of it, you had to be thrown into a room, and they had a bunch of props, and you had to literally go live for 5 minutes of, airtime, and they were really awkward to watch because a lot of people weren't prepared, and it was just like messing up. And it was really cute though, and it did a lot of team building, and we learned who each other was. We got to work with people who we necessarily wouldn't have met anywhere else in the conference. They kept us to a pretty tight schedule. So these activities we had in the evening were really important to us for socializing and networking with other teammates and communities.
So one of our activities that we had to do was to create a vision statement. We were each given a paper to fill out that broke down the goal that you want for your community. So they said that you can break out of your team groups and you can go meet with your community if you want, or you can do it by yourself. And all of us Akwesasne delegates met together, and we were meeting, and then somehow other nations from the Haudenosaunee Confederacy got pulled in, and so we met as a Haudenosaunee Confederacy group. So we had someone from 6 Nations, Tainanega, we had all of us from Akwesasne, Oneida, and Onondaga, I think. But we had a big group of us, and our vision statements, we created our own, each of us. We had an idea of what we want for our community, and what we want to see, what kind of issues we want to fix. And so we each created our own idea, that we presented it together as a group. And somehow it all connected in some way. And what we came up with was this Haudenosaunee Healing Community. We said that as a youth, we want to be more active in the solutions for our community. We want all these different things, like We want to have our own committee of youth, but not call it youth committee so that we can be taken seriously, so that we can be heard. And we talked about, my idea myself was that I want more bigger community gardens as a way to work towards self-sufficiency, food sovereignty, and cultural revitalization and language revitalization, and to use the community garden as a tool. And Gahanda was talking about the same idea, how she wants to use that as community health to work towards a healthier community, and as a way to help the less fortunate in our community. It's almost like a food bank or Meal on Wheels, where we would find out where our community members are suffering and they're hungry, and we would bring these fresh vegetables and food to them. And Kaylee was talking about a post-rehab program called the Friendship Center, where if you just got out of AA or rehab or whatever it is, and you're on a journey to heal yourself, and you're helping yourself, you would have this center where you could go to do activities. You can go sing, you can go dance, you can go watch TV, you can go do all these healthy things and not be judged. You'll be accepted, and you'd be a part of the community, and they would help you on your journey. And Donovan talked about a village where it was like Freedom School, but bigger, where you could be there with your kids as parents, with your kids learning along with them the language and the culture. So those kids aren't depending on just that school to learn their language and learn their culture. Your parents would be in there with them. You're learning together as a family, and it would become like a village, where we would create something like our longhouse villages back in the day as a way for healing and cultural revitalization. And how we talked about a program, a part of this, called the Healing Messengers, where we would communicate with all the other nations of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and we would figure out the strengths and the weaknesses of each community and utilize that. If Six Nations was really lacking on something like maybe, I don't know, if they needed some medicines, like medicine people to go over there, that's just an example, but they really needed something like spiritual guidance or something. And Okazasne was strong in that. We would have messengers go over there and help them and train them or provide them the skill. And so we would have this center where they would send out people to all the nations of the Confederacy to help strengthen those weaknesses in each nation. And like Goonies, as well as a ghost from Onondaga, they talked about a communication center, a part of this committee, that would be real time, where you could communicate with other nations and know what's going on over there. If they were suffering over there was a huge fire, we would know about it right away, and so other nations would be there to help. That's just an example, but we would be communicating with them on a real-time basis, so we can all help each other, strengthen each other's weaknesses, and share these skills that we all have, so we can become a stronger confederacy and become one. So that's what I had to say about that. But this was really powerful, just being in this meeting, and I felt really humbled to be here with all these different nations and to actually come up with this idea. So I just wanted to say now to all the Augusta delegates for being so strong and these other nations.
So, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to clear my throat right in the mic. The presentation of resolutions. Now, as many of you may know, or may not know, we had many, I guess, different types of leadership who arrived, chiefs, to which they wanted to listen to what we had to say, and it was very much with our teams again, you know, like ones we've already explained that we were in, and we all collabed to present an issue in terms of resolutions, in terms of what is the best and active way to go about this, what is a proactive instead of a reactive approach. You know, and of course everybody had different resolutions, they had different types of issues that they wanted to speak, and all of the chiefs here were eagerly awaiting to listen to what the youth had to say, and it was a very impacting moment for all of us, because it was something that a lot of people, especially the youth, they don't get their voices necessarily heard, and to have I guess, 10 teams of youth to actually have a conversation with these chiefs about issues that they personally felt, it was a humbling experience for everybody because, well, like I said before, it's just the youth don't necessarily get that voice. So I thought this was an amazing opportunity, and I don't exactly remember each individual one, so we can all just say.
These were just responses to the Truth and Reconciliation. So each team was assigned a section of the Truth and Reconciliation to where maybe we had more questions and it wasn't a good enough answer, basically. So that was just something that we delivered and we came up with a brainstorm, and that's what we presented to each of our leadership that showed up to watch us that day.
So my resolution was child welfare, having to do with the Truth and Reconciliation. I was really proud of my resolution that my team came up with, because I actually got to sit down with Chief Louis Thompson and talk about this and what's going on in our community. And that has never happened to me before. I never sat down with a chief and talked, just conversate on something. So that was really meaningful to me. Like, he connected me with somebody else that might help me with this. And so I got connected with somebody else that knew so much about child welfare and helped me create my own vision of or resolution for child welfare and unpossessed.
Okay. Unity. When it comes to, I guess, nation-to-nation leadership skills, unity is a very important aspect in terms of having a goal in mind, a proposition to issues, and of course having like-minded and very diverse individuals who wanted to come together and to solve issues. Now, when it comes to, I guess to explain a couple of these pictures, it was a great moment for us in Upper to have Donovan Thompson, Satigo and Hilda Fox to actually sing in the mornings. I believe it was Passenger Pigeon. In fact, I do remember there's actually videos of it. It's a nice listen. I would recommend all of you guys to go ahead and listen for that. And of course, doing the Honolulu Decto, which was and also I guess, an important aspect of what we were trying to represent as a community for Upper. So I guess that's when we're talking about unity and such like that. Anything I missed? Oh, that's right. So I guess it wasn't necessarily, it was kind of just like, hey, you wanted to do something for us real quick? We also led the dances, which I do remember the passenger pigeon was the dance that we led. We also had kind of like a little improv social there, just to introduce, I guess, like what our songs are and what our teachings are. It was just something really brief. It wasn't elaborate, but it was, I guess, an important aspect just to show who Upper was. And I feel like that was a beautiful way of doing that. Let me continue. All right, so I'm talking about the picture. So, okay, so we got stuck in Toronto. We had a huge, was it a 6-hour layover? 8-hour layover. Because there was a technical issue with the plane. I suppose yeah. So what happened was, I guess like something in the computer, it wasn't working. They literally just turned off the plane and they turned it back on, and surprise, it worked. I never knew you could do that with a plane. But because of that 20-minute, I guess, interruption, it caused us an 8-hour layover. So we're just sitting here. Hey, it's Toronto. Like once we get to Toronto, we're like, oh, we have 8 hours to burn. So we decided to just, tackle the city, I suppose. We kind of went to the mall, I think 98% of our journey, but it was a fun time, and it wasn't like, because of it was an inconvenience, but we made the best of it. It really was. So, and it's also because of this 8-hour layover, we didn't get to our hotels in Thunder Bay until what, 1, 2 in the morning? Yeah. Which was actually great about the staff, that even despite we were so late, not our fault, but we were late, that they were right there to greet us. They were arguably tired, and but they still met us there. They didn't half-ass anything. It was a really welcoming experience. They gave us little lunches and stuff like that, and they gave us margaritas. It was a lot of fun. That's the plane. Oh yeah. So there was 20 of us on this plane, and it was it went from like a little tiny jet to like a propeller plane in terms of transition. A lot of us were arguably scared. Oh my god, yeah. So we had like a 3:15 to a 5 o'clock flight, really early. It was just like that was really late. It was extremely late. Sorry, it was extremely late. And I believe a lot of us had to conquer our fears of flying, which is arguably, a lot of people were scared. And but that was its own experience. It was really a good time, despite turbulence. That was interesting. And so that wraps up our presentation. So I would like to give you guys the opportunity. If you have any questions, please ask away. Bishop, yes.
Yeah. First of all, I want to congratulate you. I think this is a great thing that you guys are doing. And hopefully you can keep it more of a grassroots get together. Keep the politics out of it. It'll work. Did you say there was 31 reserves that were in Thunder Bay on this?
Yeah, I did.
You did.
It's 31 of the 133 in Ontario.
Thunder Bay is in a lot of trouble because they have the biggest race going on right now of all of Ontario, all the reserves.
While we were there, they told us that we shouldn't leave either. They told us to stay in our motel or don't go all over the city.
That's where they threw that hitch at that girl out in the window, that 18 girl. They were in the stomach, almost killed her.
She's dying right now. She got told that there's nothing she could do, that she only has a few weeks left.
Wow. So I guess my question is that through all your meetings and your talk about unity, you talk about everything, and one of the relations of reconciliation that you guys talk about as a community, like Upper Russell here, but all the communities, was there any common strategy that everybody came up with how the communities and what solutions they can do to combat the opioid and the fentanyl, all the stuff that's hitting us, the 31 reserves in Ontario? Did anybody have a discussion how they can come to a common goal on how to combat that? And second of all, what plans do you have to continue this? I know you're in Thunder Bay and you had that meeting, but what's your next step? Are you having more meetings here? Are you moving around on other reserves? Or what's your next strategy? I know this sounds very promising, but what's your next step to continue?
So for continuation, we are talking about the Haudenosaunee Healing Committee. The first sector that would have to come up would be the website. So it's actually going to be adding anybody openly public to anyone. We're going to try to design that first so that we can start the communication. When it came to the responses to the Truth and Reconciliation, it was actually a formatted layout that every team was given, and we were actually given our topics because IFN went through and these are the major topics in each community that need to be talked about in the Truth and Reconciliation. Like, we need more answers for these areas. So that's what we had done. And as far as the fentanyl tackling the addiction part of it, my group personally was part of the
the response as to we should be able to govern and our own probation, basically. Like, we have to look at more factors when it comes into the people who are committing crimes and stuff like that. We have to see that it was from broken homes and take more factors into consideration. So as far as the addictions part of it, it wasn't really tackled in anything that we had to respond back to. But ourselves, that was in the Haudenosaunee Healing Committee. That was one of the gaps that we had seen, is that most of the relapses in all of the communities, they stem from not having a program as soon as you graduate your program, your detox, your rehabs. So as of right now, I personally on my own Facebook, I'm going to this meeting, I'm going to this, so I have people in each area, like Caleb Turner, who was on the slideshow and will be here on Saturday. He's never consumed alcohol or did drugs. So we have each person that I'm networking from right now without the website being done that I'm talking in talks with. One of the girls that are from the border of Manitoba and Ontario, her name is Stephanie Taylor. She got sober at the conference. So we're just starting to network within our own IFF family now, and we will have to have meetings between us delegates. And we were talking about monthly, and then when it came to talking about how we're going to help the rest of the communities, we're talking about hearing how they're going to start their things there. So the website is the main goal, but until then, we're kind of just networking through our own social medias.
Was that a walker's camp there? Was that the one? Just for the Albany group was there?
There was, all the tribes are there, but there was like over 100 people there. So we barely got to meet and, like, you know, we skimmed the surface of people that were there. But we have a whole website, our Facebook group chat. So everybody that attended the conference is in that chat, and it stays updated regularly. We're still talking about things and how we want to see our goals be reached. So talking about real progress.
That's a good thing, because once you get on your webpage, then you can communicate with each other as far as the suicide. You know, like you said, everybody can group up and help these communities.
Yeah, and with that, my own certification for Safe Talk, I'm looking at doing workshops in all of my friends' communities that's starting their little sober squad in their little communities too. So it's promising. It's looking really promising.
One other comment is those resolutions. They're not just resolutions that you did. The Independent First Nations leadership is putting those resolutions to action. And after us, we'll get those copies of those resolutions too. I want you to be aware of that.
Are you going to have a conference here? Is that what your next plan is like to move it forward?
We could put on our own workshops. The CD release party that's happening this Saturday, that's more of like a social thing. We're just bringing a few people in to keep those connections strong. We're holding a workshop. Myself, this is my second time going with IFN, and I have been to other conferences outside of IFN in my last year. So there's enough of us that have been to these trainings that can put on our own and start offering it to our own community. Instead of sending us out, we can now bring it here and we can start offering our experience with other communities. So it's, yeah, we're not just going to be sent out. We're going to start doing things around here. We've been to enough workshops now where we know what we're doing, and we can make it fun and educational. We see that now.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Any other questions for you? So, I just want to say on behalf of the council that we're extremely excited to see the next steps of this. This is the first presentation that we have seen of this, and I must commend each and every one of you. All of you are real ambassadors and young leaders in our community, so thank you very much. So give it a hand for them. We have a PowerPoint presentation that we're going to do this evening for you. We have have distributed a few copies that are in packages here. If you would like a copy afterwards, if you weren't able to get one, we can email it to you, or we can send you a paper copy or bring one by, or to provide them at our office for you to see. So, we wanted to do a presentation and talk about some of the goals and strategies in which we have been working towards over the last year as the council. So back in 2015, late 2015, the Mohawk Council developed a strategic plan. And that strategic plan happened over a number of months with senior leadership of the Mohawk Council, with our councilor South. And we developed this plan for the 2015-2018. Part of the strategic plan was the mission statement. The mission statement that we developed was to provide consistent quality service that would enhance the quality of life for all of us alone today, while protecting our rights and preserving our resources for the next 7 generations. So that was the mission statement that we developed. I believe it was ratified in December of 2015. We had a community presentation on the strategic plan itself altogether, the entire plan itself. We actually had Dr. Dolly McDonald assist us with that. She assisted with the presentation. At the same time, we developed the vision statement, which is sustaining our inherent rights, facing challenges together to build a strong and healthier future. So following the strategic plan, which was accepted by the Mohawk Council and is a guiding document for the organization to move forward, we developed within that plan itself 4 strategic priority areas that we felt. One of the things we had seen in the past is that the Mohawk Council had developed strategic plans, but they were very large documents. There was a lot of detail in them. One of the things that we said is that we need to develop just priority strategic areas that we can feed into. So on that strategic plan, these are the 4 priority strategic priorities that we developed, which is self-determination, well-being, sustainability, and modernization. So as we move forward as a community and an organization, we've asked the organization and our council to feed into these 4 pillar areas. So following the development over a number of months and ratified in January of 2016, the strategic plan, the Department of Dale Denawago undertook to do a comprehensive community plan, which they did a number of outreach sessions in the community. They went out and did focus groups. They went out and met with a number of groups themselves, and also did some online surveying, which I don't know the numbers offhand, but we had a good turnout for the feed into the comprehensive community plan, which again was a plan that we wanted the community to help feed into what the priorities you were identifying. These were the key priorities that were identified within the comprehensive community plan. So it's becoming a self-governing nation, living in a safe community, better management of our land, monitor and protect our environment, create more jobs and business opportunities, address community education needs, increase fluency in Mohawk language, take pride in our culture and history, provide sufficient and affordable housing, improve our health and well-being, take care of our vulnerable members in the community, and support our community's recreational needs. This is what the community said are the highest priorities in the community. So we took the community comprehensive plan and the strategic plan that was developed earlier in this council's term, and we came together with the senior leadership of the Mohawk Council. And we said, this is what the community is looking for. These are the strategic priorities that we developed at a high level. And what we did is we developed some goals that support what the comprehensive community plan said and what the strategic plan said, the 4 strategic pillars. So what we came up with, and this is in collaboration with the senior leadership, our council, and a few other key holders within the Mohawk Council, we came up with some goals. That's becoming under self-governing nation, which was a community comprehensive plan goal that was identified by the people in consultation, which also feeds into our 4 strategic pillars of being self-determination and modernization. So we negotiate a sectoral self-government, land, justice, and education. Negotiate and ratify land claims, develop and promote Aboriginal rights agenda, achieve greater recognition for the Mohawk Court, as well as implement strategies to grow and develop MCA staff and attract new talent to the community and organization. These are what we developed that feed into that. And now what we wanted to do is go through and talk about, at least to provide you with some of the work that we have been doing to feed into these goals that over the last year and a little bit. So under the self-government, as you know, we have the Underwood Duxbury program that's ongoing, that we've been negotiating with our land and governance sectoral agreement that we will be bringing to the community for ratification. Currently, there's some ongoing hurdles to that, but we're seeking a meeting with the Minister of Indigenous Affairs to talk specifically about our self-government agreement, which feeds into negotiating our own self-government. Also, over the last little while, a couple of years, we've been developing a number of laws. The fiscal management law, which is a draft law right now, which will be coming out to the community for consultation, is in draft form right now. The Alberta tobacco law, which was recently enacted, that feeds into the self-government sectoral agreement also. We have a draft education law that's about ready to go out to the community for consultation, and also an educational strategy overall that we've developed that feeds right into negotiating the self-government agreement. Negotiating and ratifying land claims, that was a priority that we've identified. So at least over the last year, we've had the port divestiture, the North Shore Nutfield tract submissions are being drafted to be resubmitted. The Block 1 lands, which is part of the Seaway construction, is very close to being finalized. That land will be finally turned back over to the Mohawks of Akwesasne, and then will be reverted back to the owners that are in that area. And those Block 1 lands are along the bridge area at the end of Wisit-Delarney Road, and there are some on Cumber Road. That's Block 1 land. People are living on those lands. They have no certificate of possessions right now. We're in the process of negotiating them to be returned to us. We've undertaken to begin discussions with Canada for a Seaway case. The Seaway case was launched in the 60s and the 70s. It's for the expropriation of the land on Cornwall Island and also the construction of the Seaway. We took the government to court over that. That case has been going on since the late 60s in the federal courts. We've now started dialogue with them to settle that case. Again, we're moving towards ratifying some of our land. The other one is the Dundee land claim. As you know, we've had a number of community information sessions on that. We've been out doing information sessions with the community. We have an offer from Canada for $239 million for the loss of use for 18,800 acres of land. That's as we're moving towards, again, ratifying our land claims. The Mohawk Court, one of the things we identified was wanting to achieve greater recognition for the Mohawk Court. Since that, we've developed this developed this goal. We have enacted the Akwesasne Court Law, which was accepted by the community through a vote. That supports the recognition of the court law. The couples property law has a provision in there that recognizes the Akwesasne Court. We also have a table with Ontario and Quebec negotiating some reciprocal agreements between the provinces, because as we adjudicate laws in the community, we need the provinces to recognize those decisions. So that's ongoing. Implement strategies to grow and develop an MCA staff and attract new talent. Over the last several months, our council late last year developed some strategies in which we presented at the general meeting, what we call the workplace revitalization strategies. And they talk about how we're going to make the MCA a more healthier, safe work environment that works towards our vision that we set up. And also with that, we've also recruited a new executive director that helps move towards developing and growing the staff within the MCA. Give me a second. We have quite a bit of slides, so I don't want to take too long on them, because there will probably be questions and we want to get to the business from the floor. So the other one was becoming a self-governing nation, which was a goal identified, and also which was identified by the community, comprehensive community plan itself, and it also feeds into the 4 strategic pillars: self-determination, modernization. And one of the things we said is we want to strengthen MCA's financial management systems and oversight within the organization. Again, I talked about the financial law. We have a law that's draft right now that will help strengthen our financial position. We've undertaken a review to implement new accounting software within the organization. So we're looking at modernizing how we do our accounts payable and how we issue checks to vendors. And that all accounting regime, we've undertaken to implement the new software. Right now we're looking at a couple other softwares that will increase the efficiency as an organization as a whole. The other thing that we've done also, which feeds into a number of the strategic pillars, is that we've submitted a proposal to Connect to Innovate, the Government of Canada, for funding for fiber optic expansion in the community. Right now, it's not, we don't have any indication whether it's approved or denied, but we feel that as we move forward, that the ability to have faster internet and more speed will be able to connect the organization much faster and also connect with the community. That is a proposal that we have on that will also work towards being a self-governing nation and also increasing our financial management systems. Strengthening communications about programs and services. That's something that we set out to achieve. Within the last year, we've had the 3 open houses that happened last year. We wanted to bring the MCA programs together and set them up and bring the community in and hear about all the programs in which the MCA offers. We've done that. We're looking at continuing to do that. We had three Christmas dinners, which also we brought the community together, brought a couple of programs out that sponsored the community dinners, and also was able to chat with people and hear about some of the needs. Focus meetings, we've had a number of focus meetings. General meetings, we're now, as we mentioned, taking the general meetings in an effort to get out more information to the people. I must say that one of the things that our council committed to was having regular general meetings. One of the things we heard in the past is that we didn't have regular general meetings either. Our council is committed to having regular general meetings, and we've achieved that. Also, the district meetings, our members of the council are also having regular district meetings, getting the signs out to the road, looking at other ways of ensuring that people are aware. You know, we hear all the time, they don't read the newspaper, don't listen to the radio. Everybody hopefully drives by a sign at some point, and we're looking at ways to increase the visibility so people are at least aware. And now we're at the point of taking. So the other one is engaging. Well, that was the engaging also with community members, feeds into how we've strengthened communications about the MCA and about the programs that we need. We're doing a number of other initiatives to get the information out. One of the things that our council is looking at is also putting up some LED lights out in different districts to be able to put some different messaging out there about the general meeting or just messaging about the program. So the other one to become a self-governing nation is lobbying and advocacy to communicate the importance of ratifying the J Treaty. So again, these goals is what we set out about a year ago. Since then, we've made a presentation to the Senate Committee of the Government of Canada on the J Treaty, which is then translated into a Deputy Minister's Committee looking at border challenges. We've been in regular contact with them. We've had a number of conversations, members of council have a number of conversations with the Minister of Justice. And we're also supporting the ongoing work that the AFN is doing around the J Treaty. So that's some of the work in which we set out to do and which we've been able to achieve in different areas. The other goal is living in a safe community. Again, that was identified by the community, which falls into the well-being, which is part of the 4 strategic pillars or priorities that we set forward. So developing a policing outreach plan with linkages to other MCA programs. So that's one of the projects that are ongoing, and how do we ensure that the programs are linking together to have a safer community. Improve the quality of public safety programs and services. So we've recently received funding and completed the review of a hazard assessment manual. We have, over the last number of years, had a number of plans in place in case of any threats or hazards or natural disasters or emergency measures, disasters happening in the community, and how do we respond to that. We've been able to secure some funding to update those plans and train, and we're just starting to roll out the training to senior management and to understand what their part is in that plan. Also, over the last year, there's been some structural changes within the police force to support a safer community. So one of the other ones is securing new funding for policing and other public safety programs. We currently have a proposal in front of the Department of Indigenous Affairs as well as the Justice and Public Safety Canada to look at a compliance program, to enhancing the compliance program in which we have now. So that again feeds into ensuring that we have a safer community. We have a, right now, we've been over the last, our council over the last year has been working on a proposal for increased marine unit for the Akwesasne Police Services in our community. We've been pushing hard on the Department of Finance as well as the public safety on this. All indications show that in this next budget of the province, which was announced today, there will be funding in that budget for enhanced marine unit for the Akwesasne Police Services. So that's one of the other ways that we've been pushing forward to, as the community is asked to make a safer community. The tripartite agreement which we have in place also supports how we work towards a safer community. To negotiate changes for the designation of the police service agreement as essential services. In First Nation communities, the governments do not view the police services as essential services. So when we talk about unions, or we talk about funding, or we talk about natural disasters and things like that, classification as an essential service, our funding partners, the province and the feds, do not see the police services in First Nations as an essential service. So we've been lobbying the government hard to make sure that they recognize essential service. In our community, though, we recognize them as essential service, meaning that no matter what happens, those services will continue to be there for our community to protect and keep us safe. So the other goal that was identified was lands and environment, which is to better manage our lands, which also feeds into the modernization priority. And the other one is monitor and protect our environment, which also feeds into the sustainability. What we've done is we pursue the increased jurisdiction over management of our lands. The Undoadatwi process, which is talking about land code, which would get us out of the Indian Act, is one of the ways in which we're pursuing greater jurisdiction over our lands. The exercise of jurisdiction over our lands is also a way that we've been supporting that initiative. Currently, we're entering into negotiations with Parks Canada for Cairn Island down near Lancaster. So right now, that land is in the stewardship, we'll say that for now, of Parks Canada. We're looking at getting that land turned back to us at this point, and that is another way that we're pushing towards that. So negotiate and ratify land claims. Again, we talked about that a little bit earlier. Again, that's better management of our lands and how we're moving towards that. Increase the land base of the community through acquisition. That was something that we've identified as being able to exercise a jurisdiction. Obviously, with the Dundee land claim, the 18,800 acres, we have the ability to buy some of that back, and also not only in the Dundee area, we have the ability to buy within the Cornwall SDNG area as part of that 18,000 acre package. That's one of the ways that we're working towards that. The other one is we do regularly get offers for lands that are for sale. We have what we call the PAT team, which is the property acquisition team, that looks at property that has come forward for the Mohawk Council to consider buying. That committee is ongoing all the time. We get regular proposals to the council, and also the PAT team does go out actively look for different areas. But again, I must say that when we do that, we always look at the use, what are we going to do with it, and also if it's off the community, what's the cost going to be, and also what is the cost going to be able to service it and get people out there. We always have to look at that. Because really the priority is to meet the needs within the community now instead of expanding out and trying to meet the needs there. So under monitoring and protecting our environment is strengthen the environmental monitoring, increase capacity to strengthen compliance with the Akwesasne environmental laws. Again, we have the proposal out to public safety for the compliance program, to enhance the compliance program. We're currently reviewing the conservation law, which is a bylaw that was accepted back in the 80s. Continue to regularly to develop the regulations for this law and other laws to continue to monitor and protect our environment as a whole. The other goal that the community talked about in the comprehensive community plan was creating more jobs and business opportunities, which feeds into self-determination and sustainability. That's the four pillars. The community said we need more jobs, we need more businesses. The council identified self-determined sustainability to be able to support this. So funding for child care and family wellness program was something that we identified as being a support, at least the more job aspect. Currently, we've been able to secure a few more positions within our family wellness center. We're in the process right now of purchasing a facility to expand some of the family wellness programming that we have in one of the districts. And we just received through the through the child welfare case that Indigenous Affairs was taken to court to force the government to recognize that they don't fund child welfare protection at the same level as off reserve, that Cindy Blackstock and the Child Caring Society decision was made several months ago. Since then, we've seen an influx of additional dollars for child prevention within our community. So that's another way that we've been able to support the family wellness of our community. So also creating more jobs is bringing water, sewer, and other services to new subdivisions. Also, namely the Jesina School subdivision in Chapman Road. So there's ongoing lobbying efforts. 95% of our community has water line. And you'll hear that when these youth presented earlier, a lot of these communities are at a whole different level here. I can tell you that being in the regional and national scene, communities would just give anything to have 95% of their community on the water line. It's really something that we should be proud of here. I know that there are the situations where some of them are not, but 95% is a high mark that our community as a whole has been committed to achieving. The next step, obviously, is the sewer. We have a number of sewer treatment plants that exist now. The one in Stein mainly. We're just on the cusp of the government approving to upgrade a sewer treatment plant down in Stein, which is hooked to Yohahil, a number of homes there to daycare, as well as Yakisuta is on an old 30-year-old wastewater plant. That's about ready to go. The government has been working over the last year to replace that. We expect within the next 6 months we should have approval to begin that. But regardless, we know this is something we've been hearing in over the last month since the thaws happened, that our roads need to be replaced. And we just this week had the Associate Regional Director down here, who's part of the Capital Planning Division, to specifically talk about how we can meet our road needs. So secure funding for road reconstruction also was identified a year ago. Since then, we've got Buckshot Road, which is just out the back here, is being slated to start reconstruction. They've started the surveying and clearing of that road. We've been able to secure that over the last year. Park Street and Hilltop Drive on Venabigo is in the design phase right now. We're also going through an issue with easements. We're looking at trying to put more walkways or sidewalks within the district. And so we're in discussions with the landowners to give a little bit of easement for the sidewalks there. River Road, we have a 1.7 kilometer proposal on queue with Indian Affairs. Again, this week we were talking about that. River Road, parts of River Road are in bad shape. Don't get me wrong, a lot of River Road is in bad shape. There's enough roads around here in bad shape, but we're trying to prioritize different areas as we go forward. Way the front, also the extension there that goes into Whoville is in really bad shape. That's on our priority list also. So we look at secure funding for design and construction of MCA service building in Venabigo and Jesina. If any of you have been down in Stein, where Yohahio is, we put a lot of dirt on the ground there and built up a huge mound. That is part of our efforts to put an administration building down Stein. What we needed to do is put some bedrock, or put some soil on the ground there to be able to settle it, to prepare for the preparation of putting a building there. Also, the one in Venabigo, there's conceptual designs to where the Angus Mitchell is to redo a building there, which will become part of the government service facility there. Those, obviously you can see we made the investment already into the ground in Jesina. We, just this week, when the Associate Deputy Minister was down looking at ways to finance the building in Stein as the first administration building revamp. The challenge is that in Indian, we'll say loosely, in Indian country, everybody's talking about roads and water lines and housing. We're talking about administration buildings, and the priorities of the government is not in administration buildings, because we've already got, like I said, 95% of our communities on water. We're past that. So we're looking at different ways that we could possibly finance, borrow some money to build that building, but we're looking to ensure that Indian Affairs will make the payment on that finance and not us, because it's their responsibility to ensure that we have the infrastructure. So that's something that we've begun that dialogue with Indian Affairs on. Secure funding for replacement of Min 2. So when we identified this, I believe we may have been just on the cusp of moving out of that building because of the condition of it. So that is something that's ongoing. which will feed into the other admin building that we want to develop in St. Regis also. So the other goal that the community identified was addressing community educational needs, which support sustainability. How do we move forward as a community? Education is very important to our community. We've been controlling our education system since 1987 here, something that, again, our community needs to be proud of. So we looked at securing appropriate funding for education governance administration, including school boards. If you look at the way the government funds us now, they do not give us money to operate the administration of the school board. That means the elected trustees that exist there, the director and all of the support services to operate a school, by virtue of the funding formulas from Indian Affairs, they don't give us money to operate that. Our community has been committed to our education system, has been funding that and operating since 1987. We recently, in the last year, put a proposal forward to headquarters, the minister's office, to fund that education governance system. We provided that to the senior administration of education, and what we're looking at is we're saying, look, we've been 30 years, we've been operating our education system here with the school board. We've been paying for it ourselves as a community. It's about time the department comes forward and funds that. That way we can enhance the programming and continue to expand what we do in the education sector. Secure multi-year operational capital and operations of Yohakio. Programs, core capacity and facility. So since this has been set out, the Yohakio has shifted. They used to be under the administration of Mohawk Council. Now they've moved under the Mohawk Board of Education, AMBI, as far as administration and reporting structure goes. There's been a creation of a new associate director position there to support the programming. We also ongoing lobbying efforts because the Yohakio facility cannot issue certificates or diplomas that are recognized by the government of Ontario. We can do it, but there's no accreditation to them. So there's a lobby committee with other First Nation institutes similar to Yohakio that have been working towards getting recognition of our facility. Because what we're saying is that we can deliver the same quality service as any college level courses, but we don't have the certification. We'll say an quotation certification as any other college would be able to have. So. Update the classroom technology and train teachers in use. That's something that we set out to do. Over the last year, we've increased the number of smart boards that we have in all of our schools. Those are being used to support the delivery of the education program in every school. And also we've made some investments in the computer and use of technology within our schools to be able to deliver, use different methods of delivery with different means through technology. So secure funding for improved assessment, improved access to educational assessments. One of the things is that Indian Affairs doesn't recognize the need to have assessments done in the school on children for a number of different needs, whether it's learning disabilities, behavioral needs. So what we've been ongoing lobby efforts to be able to get some additional resources on that. Over the last year, the formulas have been rebased a bit in special ed, so we're able to add some additional facility improvements and some staff, but we're continuing to move that area forward. And you'll see as we go on later on, one of the priority areas that the community identified was taking care of the vulnerable people. And this is the vulnerable children. This is a vital part of the vulnerable. And we talk about special needs and things like that. So strengthen the AMBI Early Years Program, K to 5. We've one of the things, and we'll talk a little bit about our other priority is the languages. This year, Council has committed to strengthening the program in the early years and also within the Mohawk language. We've made an investment into the education system, a one-time one-year investment. What they're going to do is they're going to take some teachers who are at fluent in the Ganyagaha language, bring them out, put them into classrooms themselves to be able to enhance their ability to speak Mohawk and also to be able to teach Mohawk. So we have a number of our own people in the schools that can speak Mohawk, but they're not comfortable with themselves to be able to teach Mohawk. The St. Regis Kanagago Skawajila program is some of the teachers are phasing out. We're being prepared to retire. We don't have any substitutes. So what we've done is we're designing a program that we can bring teachers, certified teachers in now who can speak some of the language. We're going to put them through a year-long program to be able to pump them out as being comfortable or more comfortable with themselves to be able to teach the children in the Mohawk language. That's a program that we're rolling out this coming September. So the advocate for acceptance of AMBI outcomes for early years education, K to 5, and the placement of provincial, that's ongoing. There's a number of lobbying strategies that have been developed with the province, other provincial communities to lobby the government for that. So as we talked about, as I mentioned, language and culture, which supports the well-being and sustainability, the community identified that. So we've increased the fluency in Mohawk, seek funding to develop a Mohawk language curriculum, and new models for immersion in education. I just described the way we're also supporting that, is we're bringing some of the teachers out of the classroom, giving them Mohawk language classes for a year to be able to be comfortable. Develop Mohawk language and culture law. Over the last year, actually, I believe it was in December, the Prime Minister of Canada announced that the government of Canada will introduce an Indigenous language law. So since that has now happened, we're supporting those efforts, but we also want to ensure that whatever legislation comes out has the ability to recognize our own law at some time in the course that we want to develop our own. So take pride in our culture and history, secure funding to expand the culture and Mohawk language program offered at Yoahio. So as that program that I mentioned that we're doing, bringing the teachers out, the short-term investment that we're making over a year period to bring some teachers out of the classroom, that will be delivered at the Mohawk language, at Yoahio. We also continue to support the Akwesasne Economic Development Agency, ADA, who we have a contract with, that we provide them an annual fee to run language programs which are available to our staff at the Mohawk Council. So the other goal that the community identified is the providing sufficient and affordable housing, which also feeds into modernization and well-being. So modernize the social housing program to ensure housing is available to those with the greatest needs. So since then, we've completed 2 quadplexes in Whoville. We just had a call out for people to occupy there, to rent them. We have 2 more 3plexes that are scheduled to be built also in that area. And we must say that because elder and special needs has been identified, a number of those units are built for people that have accessibility issues, and also they're not all the same sizes as far as rooms, because what we're seeing is that some families need apartments with over 3 bedrooms. So over our design period, we're looking at changing some of that. And also it goes the other way, is that there are people that need room or housing that need 1 bedroom, right? And we don't have a lot of those facilities in the community. It's either 2 or 3, which inflates the cost. So we're looking at different ways to change that up. So complete the comprehensive assessment of housing conditions, develop a multi-year housing strategy. We set out to do that a year ago, and since then we've joined the First Nations Market Housing Fund. We're participating in that, which will provide us with supports to be able to increase our capacity, to bring up our policies within the housing department, but also within that, they'll create access to additional mortgage options for the community to access. One of the things that the community has asked us is to look at another bank coming in to provide non-reserve mortgages. Right now, it's only the Bank of Montreal. Through this program, there's about 2 or 3 other banks that will be able to access for people to get mortgages to buy homes. And since then, also, we've secured funding for HRV units. That's there's an application process for that based on assessment of homes, and we've been able to roll that out. Secure funding for housing options for adults with special needs. Again, I talked about how the new Whoville projects have some are handicap accessible for those who are either in wheelchairs or just need some additional supports to be able to move around the house, having bigger doors and bigger hallways has been accommodated in those also. Pursue funding for a better housing option for seniors, independent living, or apartments and retirement living. So we've been, over the last little while, we've been able to secure some funding from the trustee of the Mohawks of Akwesasne Trust to be able to support at least some of the ongoing improvements to the existing ones, but we continue to look at ways that we can build additional assisted living or independent living apartments within in the community. That again is part of the goal that community said to provide sufficient and affordable housing. The next goal in which the community identified, which these are all through the community comprehensive plan, through surveys and sitting down in general meetings and focus groups, is improving our health and well-being, which also supports our strategic priorities of well-being. So strengthen outreach to educate community public on health matters. So what we've done is part of the 3 open houses that we did in the community to bring people in. We've also increased the use of social media through different various options to really get the information out that we have, right from healthy babies all the way up to injury prevention, whether it be diabetes and other programs like that. So that was something that we identified to strengthen the outreach to the community, so you understand what programs we have. Negotiate exemption under the French Language Act for health professionals. So we don't have a solidified exemption on that, and with our nursing we have an exemption, but what happens is that if we want to bring in doctors or professionals to the district of Cisnaine or Gunadago, they're required to fall under the French Language Act, which means they have to speak French. So in order to be a doctor in Quebec, you have to speak French. In order to be a nurse practitioner, you have to speak French. Nurses, if they're not from Akwesasne, have to speak French. There's lobby efforts underway to get an exemption for that because there's probably a handful of people in our community that speaks French, so there's no need to have any of our health professionals speak French because there's no one to be able to understand. Implement Akwesasne universal health card for members. We continue to look at innovative ways to do that. As you know, it depends on where you live, what cards you carry, and what services you're going to get, and who's going to be able to who will say yes to getting services to you, and who will say no because you live in this part of the community. That we're continuing to look at ways we can have one health card for all of Akwesasne so we don't have that problem. Secure additional health and paramedic funding for new programs, services, and equipment. Something we set out to do. We've purchased a new ambulance that over the last year. We're also investing in training. We have ALS training that we're providing to our ambulance technicians. We have we have 3, I believe, right now that are certified. We have some in school right now to be ALS certified, so that's increasing the service level in which we're putting out to the community. We purchased an emergency triage vehicle, which is, in the city of Cornwall, sometimes you'll see a truck that's driving around really fast with some lights on. This is an ambulance on the side. That vehicle, we've been able to secure funding to be able to purchase one of those. The intent of that vehicle is to be able to get to the place of the scene or the place of need faster than the ambulance, and that helps diversify some of the equipment and need that we have, but also to save lives and provide the service that's needed much quicker. So we also have an ongoing review right now of the ambulance program in which we have to be able to ensure that our program, from a program level, is meeting the needs. So the next goal is to take care of our vulnerable members in the community, which helps support their well-being. So we secure funding for special needs programming for children, example speech, OT, PT, and mental health in schools and through the Children's Treatment Center. So this is ongoing. We continue to build better relationships with our external partners to be able to provide those services for special needs. That's more so specifically within the school system, but not always. We've had some partnerships with the Seniors Golf Tribe for such programming also. So secure funding for a new enhanced program and service for adults with special needs. So we've been able to increase the age limit from 18 to 21 on our special needs funding that's available. In the past, that's only if you were over 18 years old, you weren't available to this funding. There are additional fundings available for elders, but it's that area that if you're not an elder and you're not a youth, we can at least increase that a bit. So adjusted deficit and social programming through new funding and our adjustments to the program. So that was one of the things that we set out to do, and that it feeds into our financial stability. So we've undertaken a number of reviews to support that. Seek funding for the new and enhanced intervention program. As I mentioned earlier, we've got an influx of prevention dollars that came in last year, which support that. And finally, to support the community recreational needs. So to reduce the deficit through various measures at the arena, which has been ongoing for a number of years. The arena doesn't generate enough money to be able to be self-sustaining. The other one's improve access to recreational programming. So with the arena, we rent sections, obviously, with the toll booth, to look at how we can get some alleviation on that aspect, to bring more people to the area. There are some scheduled facility improvements to make the arena more appealing. We are making an investment into the refrigeration unit there. There's also some grant money that we received to do some grounds development on the outside of the arena, so hopefully be able to attract more people to the area to improve the access to the program. The other one is that we've constructed and opened a trail in Snai, a walking trail that was within the last year. Also, we've been able to secure a donation of a lacrosse box down in Snai at the recreation center, and secure funding for in-kind contributions for the arena grounds development. So we'll be making a contribution to improving the grounds, the external grounds of the arena at our expense. That is the goals and strategies that we set out. About a year ago, we wanted to provide you with a report on some of the work that we're doing. As we move forward, we'll continue to work towards development and achieving those goals, but we really wanted to highlight that the strategic priorities, the 4 strategic priorities, comprehensive community plan, those have fed together to make these, to bring these goals together. So one of the things council said is that we wanted to set achievable goals. We want to ensure that what we're setting out to do is it's achievable, and also along with some of the high-level things that are ongoing within the community. But this is really a review of some of the high-level, or some of the achievable goals that we set. Am I missing anything? When we were developing this, I said, well, everybody's going to have a speaking part in this, right? Well, I got outvoted, right? You're the Grand Chiefs, so you're going to do all the talking. That's why I'm up here doing all the talking. Yeah, the tallest guy draws the shortest straw. Yes. So, is there any questions on the presentation?
I know my wife will bring it up, but probably no one will bring this up. But we had a conversation at the house, and I was talking about the language. She's been teaching over 30 years. She's been teaching the language. And I asked her one day, I says, how many chiefs over all the turnovers over the years, the last over 30 years, have come in your classroom and actually sat down and watched you teach or asked you to see how the progress is going and how the language is taught? And she said, never. Not once has any chief or anyone in the prior over 30 years has ever gone in there, but they talk about the language, they promote it, it's the best thing. Why wouldn't you show an interest in it and go in and at least see how it's being done or taught? I mean, it's only right to me that someone should be in the center, especially in education, particularly the center, to go in there and at least see what's going on. And the second thing I have is, I was at the school the other day, and there were some teachers up, they were all outside, so I went with my grandson, picked him up, and the playground is terrible. There's nothing there for those K-5 kids at the playground. So I'm looking at all these things, and then it was brought to my attention that, I guess 2.5 years ago, the teachers drew up a playground, and a proposal was put forward to initiate this playground, and the proposal was given. I don't know if it goes to the board, then to the council, or where it goes, but it was approved. Apparently this thing was approved, and there's no playground. So what happened to the funding? And apparently it was approved 2.5 years ago, but there's no, you should see it, there's nothing. And I'm just wondering, where did the funding go? Do you know anything about the funding, or I don't know who's on the education or portfolio, but it should be looked into, like, what happened? I mean, it's terrible out there. The pavement's all gone, there's big holes in the pavement. I mean, all our little guys are out there, you know, up to, I think, the 5-year-olds. But that whole end is terrible. And that's part of, part of the education. So I'm wondering, you know, if there was money for it, could you look into and find out why there isn't a playground?
Yes.
Or what happened to the equipment?
Yeah. Well, what we can do is we can undertake to look to see what the plans are for future development of the playgrounds, but also we'll see if there was a proposal in the last 2 years to increase.
Maybe Ryan would know. I don't know. Do you know anywhere about that proposal?
I do know that during this term, there has been some funds identified to be able to improve existing playgrounds, so we are aware of that they do need improvement, and there are some that aren't being used right now because they're not safe, so we are doing what we can to...
Well, it'd be nice because the kids up there are taking the pavement and they're making little cell phones out of it, playing with the pavement. And they're holes in the pavement and things need to be fixed. I mean, it's something really serious.
Oh, absolutely, I agree, and administration knows all about it, and we're taking action on it. Thank you.
We'll provide a report on where we're at. Any other questions on the presentation? Yes.
Yes, I have two.
Okay.
One was like the Nation building is doing the work plan for a chief, how, you know, what they should do and not do and stuff. I don't understand why you have another committee working on that when they don't come and sit with us at Nation building to do that.
Which other committee are you referencing?
I don't know who they are.
The governance committee? Okay. Probably the
They
governance.
need to be at the Nation building.
Yeah, well,
We'll
the
work
governance,
together.
the governance committee that we have identified through council is looking at the current existing working conditions and the...
That's what we're doing too. That's what we're doing too, and I think that we should be sitting together.
Okay, so for the governance whole committee that we have working on at our office, we have 3 chiefs and our staff. And what we're really looking at is the orientation that a council member or a new member to council would have when they come in. Right now, the former, our previous orientations, we had all the departments come and sit in front of us and tell us about their program and their funding and who did what where. So what I found for myself personally, that didn't help me do this job. What we needed to know was some help in the financial literacy, some help in the financial literacy area, what our budgets were, what our travel, how we do our travel, what our limits are, what our working conditions are, how do we get things done, where do we go in government when we want to find some funding in the program or the portfolio we chose to take. Those kind of internal things is what this governance committee is working on. What you're working on in a nation building is a bigger picture to governance on how we will follow and do our ethical conduct and those all exist already. But what we're working on, our focus is an orientation that when you come in as a new council member, you're getting an orientation that will help you, assist you to do that job. Right now, I worked for Mohawk Council for 27 years, but I was still lost in how I was supposed to go to the government, what my role was as a council member. So that's what we're working on developing here as a governance board committee to help us when we come in the door.
Yeah,
So it's a better orientation.
So ultimately, it's more of the governance at the end of the ultimately is the law and regulations that support governance, whether it be the chiefs or the governance of the Mohawk Council. The governance committee in which we've identified is more exactly what Connie has outlined. It's things that we can achieve from now until the end of this term to better the administration of the next council.
And when they decide those things, you're taking it to the people?
If there are significant changes, yes. But like the orientation sort of thing, we're trying to rejig how we spend a week. The new council spends a week learning about the organization. Maybe it should be improved in different areas.
Yeah.
That sort of.
You know, like in one area there was a financial literacy component we talked about. We talked about a lobbying component. You know, we come in as council and we say we're going to go do this, but we don't even know where to start because we don't come in with a lot of that experience. So we have a lobbying component in there. We have an orientation for financial literacy. We have to look at audits. We have to look at what they need, and we shouldn't be looking just at the bottom line at the end of the audit. We have to figure out how we got there. So we need to be able to read it. So we're looking at things like that.
and the training, and how do we govern as an individual, you know, as a chief, as a council member versus administration. We can't be in administration because we have directors and program managers that are there to do those jobs. But what's our role as a council member to govern? So that's what we're looking at. More so how we do the job. You're looking at the laws and regulations as Grand Chief had mentioned. But yeah, we will, we're in the very beginning stages. I think we're only in meeting 3. So once we have a better grasp of what we're looking at, we will certainly share what anyone does with, so that we are on the same page.
Any other questions on the presentation?
My second
Okay,
question
yep.
is on the health issues. Last week, an RN came to the elders and we talked about whooping cough, there was 3 of them that we should get shots for, mumps and measles or something like that. Anyways, you have to be between 70 and 75. If you're over that, you pay for it yourself. And I said, what do you mean we pay for it ourselves? And well, that's the way it's set up. I said, what happened? Where they're going by the government out there telling the medical people what to do with us. No, I didn't like that at all. I said, how many people have the money to pay for $110, I think it is, to have the needle? And that's got to be 3 of them, if you're not between the 75 and 80. So that needs to be looked at to get it paid for. Otherwise, you're going to have your people not doing it.
Can I ask who did the presentation?
Uh,
This was at the Tri-District, right?
Yeah.
You said it was an RN, has to do community health. I'll follow up.
Yeah, we can find out.
Yeah, call Julia.
Julia?
Yeah, wrong point. Call Julia wrong point.
And what was that date at that presentation?
Within the last 2 weeks, though? Yeah.
Within the last week.
Okay. We'll follow up and find out and we'll report that
I
back.
mean, we asked her all those questions, but
She didn't know.
she didn't know it, and you know.
Yeah.
we
No,
all-
absolutely, we can absolutely follow up on that, because otherwise, if you're not getting it, you're probably getting sicker, which ends up,
Yeah.
is not good to the health, but the cost also. Okay, any other questions on the presentation? Yes.
Oi, cái one two cái luôn đi on top.
Luôn lên nào đó.
Luôn đi on top. Sao con? Rồi nó đi đó, nó có cái con trên này áo, nó chỉ nói này áo. Nó hốt đồ nào.
Вам неги не да, не чи я перевоня. Да, на я типа да.
Đó, mình biết nó rất quan trọng cho mình. Đó, sẽ rồi vậy.
Да, доска.
We gotta pay for the medicine. Lots of government, you're gonna pay for everything else. Now you don't have to pay.
Я не си орива я пача майс. Не да я пача дикона на че tu sa ang body.
You have to just say,
Я те кај на body.
and that shouldn't even get in there.
Yeah.
Take a couple weeks of a newspaper. The Indian Time people for. Our custom road, no, take it now, that's what they want. They don't know what we need the headstockers. Custom all over, that you can stop coming, but not alone.
Yeah, I need to get you in there.
Well, it's on a paper. Then why do they want to come over here and say, okay, Canadian side will do the South government? And I get it gentle anymore, I'm not thinking you're not.
Eso es ya payat, ya kutsko ne auri wa chuba para ne ha kwa ne ha kwa ta iko na ni jina ta la ko sa na ya. So is it ne ona ta askolori ona ka gueta ni ya kaya riwa dami ang skarori na zon ezo ya bagoy na say na ya.
Ono kini ono ko. Yang kata mata kan ini kita kena kelar. Did you ever help anybody? No, right? So, lots of companies, it is more stricter. They don't get nothing. And your pension can be cut off, and after that, your taxation is going to come in. There's no big on. They got a lot of acres of land. They can't do it. Machine authority, he's got half an acre. They sold 4,000 a year. And these people here, they got the 50, 60 acres. How are they going to do it?
Nakoki agorore je ya taho de tatando et doa ne gefa ben boundary boy. Ya ten tatando et ara ge toni kari usne boy utage. Doa sori boy ge tatando et.
Naki dos ke na kari na ho. Naki tiga no pacto down in someone jogo. Tato dia de jaro sto lo ne dona dum jodi ne akata. Kalau ni ada juga orang kita doa le cuma ni lagi kerja dia tahu. Apa nak nak perlu dia.
Kadian dari ustur no kena kaya to kadian dari ni cilu dia tak kipa. Kadian dari nak kena kaya neni buat Krishna dan runa dia dari runa mai kilori pamuni dia tahu tu nama dekat kene kaya kesene your education dan ajuan pasung dan kaya kinawa your education yakando agwaya ke da mo kya ta ka de
Water is here for no.
what you hero right now
No. Kuni masa jalan saya tanda ya ini mana.
ya hindi tayo buat ini
Okay, yeah, we're done. Next year we can go to the Ryan.
ya just ke da
That's not, they don't down on top government. Okay, this is good. No, it's not good. Okay, so talk we get the nature of the There's no one thing, yeah. Not ever talk about it. He's only got a short in there. Yeah, short in there.
In the back, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to check and see the financial administration law in draft form. Is that just for council or is that coming to the community for review?
Currently, right now, it's just in draft for, it's not being distributed, it's not final, it's not the final product yet. What we've asked is the fiscal management board to take a look at it and do a systems test to ensure that if this law is enacted, that we can be compliant with it. But part of the law enactment process, it will go out to the community in draft for consultation, and then back to the council, and then back to the community again.
For the governance or nation building, I know several months ago we had asked for focus meetings as far as like where different tables are going. There were several tables for community information. I haven't seen any plan.
Okay. Can somebody speak to the plan for communications on what that's been?
I guess I can. There are several members here who belong to the Anduadataway Working Class Group, and those are community members. Not all people that belong there are council. We have at least one representative from each district that sit at the working task group on the Anduadataway task group committees. We have two committees. We actually have 4 committees. We have a working task group that's assigned to look at the governance code. And then we have another committee that looks at the land code, of how we are going to administer our lands ourselves. So we have another committee there. And then we have communication committee. That's the communication, what you're talking about, who will be responsible for how this information is being delivered. And that one is made up of all community people. Any politicians that would attend that are ex officio and they have no voice there, they only listen. So the community members that belong to that, and it's called EAC, they're the committee that's responsible for the communication. So I don't want to put people on the spot, but to identify who they are, but their role and their responsibilities in that committee is to make plans of how this information, the best way to get this communication up to the people. And then we also have other committees, which are the people that sit at the table to negotiate with Canada. Not only Canada, but Indian Affairs. Indian Affairs of how these agreements are going to be written up and what to have negotiate, what areas of governance we will remove ourselves, opt out of the Indian Act. The Indian Act says that if you want to, how you govern your community, these are the rules that you have to use. Passing laws, well, passing laws no longer is an issue, but how to register land and all that stuff. Those are dictated by Indian Affairs. And so now, this is what areas we are negotiating. So, like I said, you want to know how it's communicated, well, it's the communication group that does that.
But just give me 1 second. Go ahead.
It's essentially not how it's communicated, but when it's communicated. Like I'm really interested in learning more about your land code on how it's going to be governed. Because I know we have, like, what's your time frame? How long out? Is it going to be 20 years out? Is it 25 years? Because I know we have a lot of issues with regard to getting our land surveyed.
Yeah.
The number of steps involved in getting your land surveyed.
Okay.
And then if I have an issue with surveying now,
What's it going to be then?
what's it going to be like when we do that?
So could we give what you can expect for moving forward?
I do know that at a few of our meetings in the last few months, we have made the request that they start the education process with the community, where they would have these focus meetings with the community, bring them in and show them, to give them an idea of what stage we're at, and to give them background of where this all came from, the history and just to put it out in front of the community, let them know where we're at and where we're headed, and the potential time frame. We will ask them to do that again, and we'll ask that they make concrete decisions on when that will be, and we'll make it public to the community.
So
We'll
we'll
bring that-
schedule that as a follow-up item to get more additional information, what
Yeah.
we can expect for at least a not consultation, but an information schedule that will lead into the consultation or ratification,
Right.
which will be probably 2 to 3 years for final ratification, but the information needs to go now.
Yes, and they have been working, the advisory committee has advised us, they have been working on what the plan will look like to put out to the community for education, so I am of the impression that they are ready to do that. So we will make contact with them to ask them to provide us with information for the next meeting or prior to, and the schedule.
Okay. Yeah.
I also wanted to follow up, in the last 2 years, has council successfully purchased any lands in Upper Russell?
In the last few years? 2 years? I don't believe so, no.
And then, is there going to be more information coming out with respect to the whole program unity, to have 3 districts, we need to unify, we need to go back, look at other recreational items that we can start looking at the beach. And we do certainly need the help of MCA's programs to do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We can, what we can do is we can undertake to do a couple additional reports on some next steps in some of the community safety areas. Because the report that we did tonight was really about where we are now, as we've identified the priorities going forward, the strategic priorities, but we wanted to at least provide the community with an update of where we are and going forward. We can look at highlighting some of those areas, specifically around community safety and well-being, to tackle on what you're saying. So, okay, all right, we're going to move along to business from the floor. We're getting a bit later in the evening, so I will take Francis here.
I like how you finished your presentation earlier in regards to the arena and the toll booth. I had the pleasure this year of coaching the senior women's hockey team out of the National Capital Women's Hockey Association in Ottawa. And the long and short of it is we tried to make our arena our home, but they wouldn't let us because the teams do not want to come over and pay the toll. So this is kind of just off my head. For this year's budget, we paid about $3,500 to the city of Cornwall, where we could have spent that money over here at our arena. We had practices here at our arena. We spent between $1,200 and $1,500 this year. We have girls from Cornwall area playing on our team. It's a very well mixed team. We have girls from the state side. We have girls all over Akwesasne and Cornwall. And we started the year off really bad. We had a 1-1-1 record. And with some dedication from a coach and a trainer, Denise Thompson, Everett Lazar coming out and helping, and myself, I haven't coached hockey in 25 years. We ended up with we played 20 games, we ended up with a 16-2-2 record in the league. We won the league this year. In the playoffs, we went 4-0. We won the playoffs. So for a first-time team in that league, and it's a very well-run league, I think there's 12 teams in that league. We spent over $500 for our girls from Cornwall to come over here to practice because we paid their tolls. So I need something from council to help us as a team and other teams here in Akwesasne that have to play in Cornwall because teams don't want to pay this toll. I've talked to Chief Chauncey about it, and I did send him a copy of a letter from our hockey association. It was dated July 18, 2016, and their biggest problem was the toll booth. Because about 8 years ago, there was a team from Cornwall that come over and played at our arena, and that was the drawback. They had to pay the toll. So if anybody has kids, our grandkids in hockey, they know they're looking at a $700 bill just to sign them up. So when you got tolls involved with it, you know. So me as a, I guess, captain of this, coach of this hockey team, I'm looking for some support here from council to see what we can work on to help us with the girls from Cornwall and the teams from outside of the area coming over here to play in our arena. Like, to add it up, we spent over $6,000 in ice time and tolls. Where, like I said, $3,500 went to the city of Cornwall. Plus, they charge us taxes on it. I believe, Steve, you've got a copy of that letter I sent to you. So I need some help here. And there are some other minor hockey teams that play out of practice out of this arena but they play in Cornwall because they don't want to come over, the Ottawa teams. So I talked to Dennis, and we're gonna try to set something up the weekend of May 9th to the 12th where we can get together and meet and go over some strategies on how we can get this problem taken care of. Because if that league doesn't want to come over here because of the toll, what's going to happen if our lacrosse teams don't want to come over here? What's going to happen if the other hockey teams that do pay don't want to come over here? We're going to have an arena sitting here that's going to be bare, and all our games are going to be played in Cornwall. I went to the toll booth and I talked to Wade about what help we can get at the beginning. And he didn't seem to want to help. So that's why I'm coming here. And it took so long because we had a long season. We had a very good season. In the provincials, we played against teams from the other side of Kingston just to represent this part of Ontario at the provincials in Toronto. But we represented, we were the Akwesasne team when we went up there. Everybody knew who we were. They heard about our success through the season. They heard about when we played the teams from the other side of Kingston, playing to 0-0 draws when we played them. And I think that's very good for a first-year team.
Tommy, can I ask, you said it's a women or what's the age?
It's a women's league. Anywhere from, I had 19 years old to, my oldest one on the team was my daughter, and I don't want to say her age, but we had 19-year-olds. And a lot of these younger women that are playing, they do checkout at your grocery stores. Like, they're making probably $200 to $300 a week, if that. And then to pay the toll and to pay a $700 fee to join the team.
I have Steve and then over to Jim.
Yeah, when that was brought to our attention last year, we incorporated that in our AFN border crossing, the impacts of the border on First Nations people. And that was with Public Safety Canada and INAC and all these other people, and that created this special mediator position, Fred Carroll. On your issue, I also contacted the Ontario your Hockey Association and gave them a letter on the impacts that you guys, with your decision, did to us in this community. Create a deficit in the arena with toll booth and the CBSA. And I told him, I said, this summer when you have your meetings this summer, we want to be at that table with you to discuss this with all of your directors, from here all the way to Toronto, your association. Because if you don't meet with us, our next step is going to be with Hockey Canada, the federal organization. We also talked about your Benson taxation. We contacted the mayor's office, and he was gracious enough to find out what and how, because he has to go through a municipal board to get permission to do this. And he did. And now you already got that notice that percentage of the taxes will be reduced.
I haven't received any notices.
Well, Dennis is working on it. He's not here. I can't speak for him.
Okay.
That is forthcoming. And last week we were at NAVCAN with the region, this whole region here, Northern and South Dundas and Glengarry. We put it on a table because Wade was sitting next to it. Wade Dorff. We put it on a table for the regional economic development. The impact of your toll booth location and the location of CBSA. There were 16 tables of people sitting there, 6 weeks table. They finally found out what their concerns are to Akwesasne and on both sides of the border. So every time there was a question put up on the board, they all threw that in the toll booth, moved the toll booth. put it somewhere else. CVSA has to go to the US side. They were asking us about the impacts to this community. Now, that final reports is due, probably in the next 2 weeks from that summit. Everywhere we go, we push this. With every level of government that I sit at, or meet with anybody, that's the first thing that comes up. You're killing us.
See, that's just one team. That's just, like I said, that's just our
just
team.
one. Exactly.
And look at all these other teams.
Yes.
You know.
Same with our pro hockey team. What? We can't do anything here because you guys are in the way. But we have the city council, we have the regional mayors from all these little communities on our side of this. Get that whole booth out of there, get the CVSA back over to the states.
Okay, I'll wait to hear from Dennis or yourself or whenever, whoever.
Yeah.
When we can meet and we'll go from there.
Yeah, Dennis and I are working on this, and these are your contacts here.
Okay, cool.
Right?
Thank you.
I'd be willing to help out too in that regard, just because I've been involved with minor sports for over 20 years here. And I understand the discriminatory practices that the outside associations do to our people because of our uniqueness, and I'm willing to jump on board with you and help you.
Sure, thanks. One of the things that come out of this year for our women on this team, do we recognize in Akwesasne, CKON did an awesome job in promoting our team. Indian Times did. Our women got involved with the minor hockey women's teams in Cornwall at their practices and here in Akwesasne. So that's something I want to work on next year, where someone from our team will be at every young girl's hockey practices. Like, they really looked up to our team.
Is your question in relation to his?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
What about if you guys got a shuttle bus?
Yeah, there's a couple different things. We'll just talk about the toll in general. We had done a online survey to look at expanding the city of Cornwall's bus service to Cornwall Island at a minimum. We did a survey with respect to that. We're looking at what some of the next steps would be to be able to bring people back and forth on a regular pace. That is something we can look at too, is providing a shuttle specifically for the arena. When I mentioned when we were talking about the land claims, we are negotiating, we're talking with Canada to how we can settle the Seaway case. One of the big pillars is we put to them, and this is Transport Canada, is that it's the toll location. Well, first the toll in general, the impact that has on our community, and at a very minimum, the toll location and the impact that has on our community. We've let them know that that's a huge, that's settling the corridor issues. The toll is one of the biggest things in our phase. So as we bring that to potential conclusion, we'll continue to push on them for that, because what the toll SIDC says is that they have to operate the bridge by collection of tolls. So they're already disadvantaged because 70% of the people going through don't pay. So the other 30% has to pay, right? So what we're telling Canada is that, well, that's fine, but why don't you give them money to maintain it so they don't have to collect tolls and it's not on our backs anymore, right? I mean, so we're looking at a variety of options, but that is one big factor we have put to Canada, is that if you want to settle this 40-year-old lawsuit, is the toll, right? And that's all part of those corridor issues, because the impacts it has on our businesses, the impacts it has on our social life here, and the impacts on the lions, right? And it does tie into the location of CBSA. So that is on one of our things. Mr. White?
Yeah, my question, I'm going back to the goals in living in a safe community. I understand that there's a change in the policing. Now, did you do your homework before you did that? Because my biggest concern for a safe community was if you put somebody in place, you got to make sure that they have the qualifications. Because Akwesasne, if we have a major issue, we can be sued. So my question is, the safe community, where does that money come from? I mean, last time I was here, I asked what the deficit is, for Akwesasne. He says, about 1.5 million a year. I said, how much is that in legal? How do we get that down? I mean, somebody's got to be accountable for a careless act like that. It doesn't matter whether you make those moves, but you got to have your act together. Because, you know, the community is the number one concern. And that deficit, if we get sued, because we have somebody that's not qualified holding that position, where does that money come from? Are you going to cut the welfare? What social services are you going to cut? The education. Why don't we suffer enough? I mean, the question I have here is, did you just do your homework? And that's a big responsibility. I mean, I'm sure the whole community here needs a fair answer.
So the placement of employees within the Mohawk Council is not in the council's purview. It's a purely administrative matter. But when it comes to specifically around policing, the Mohawk Police Commission has more oversight and control in those specific areas than the COP position. So they are the ones that determine that within consultation with the Mohawk administration. Moving forward, I mean, it's up to the administration and how they're going to assign people, but that's not for council to decide in those decisions.
So council doesn't have nothing to do with that.
Council doesn't hire and fire any of the employees. There's one employee that the council hires and fires, and that's the executive director, who's in charge of the Mohawk Council administration.
So he'll be held responsible.
Yep. Those people in those positions are held responsible for the decisions they make that impact the Mohawk Council. One of the things that this council is committed to is holding people responsible in the organization. And that's one message that we put to the executive director, is that the senior management of the Mohawk Council needs to be held accountable for what's happening in their departments, because that's their job. So that is one of the messages that we've delivered, because what we're hearing from the staff is that people are not happy in the workplace because people are doing managers are doing one thing, or directors are doing one thing, and they're not doing it for the other person. So it makes an atmosphere in the work that is unfair, and people need to be held accountable for that. So that's part of the workplace strategies that we rolled out, that we presented, and how we're trying to improve the services of the Mohawk Council, and that's one of the areas. Of course, with a lot of other promotional areas too, to be proud of the Mohawk Council as an organization, but also to be accountable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my whole question was just the accountability.
Yes,
So
people are.
Who's going to be?
The message that councils give to the senior administration officer, which is the executive director, people need to be held accountable for their actions. And we have no play in that though, because there's only one employee that we're responsible for. But we set the vision and the tone in the organization. Okay, any other business from the floor? Yeah.
I just wanted to give an update on the treatment center, drug and alcohol treatment center. You guys know I've been working on the White Pine Healing Lodge. In January 21st, I had a Labrador, 2 community Labrador come in, and we got a little bit of funding from the CIHR. It's funding for a trip, and they got it here. And they're in dire need of some kind of recovery. Right now, they will run through and they go to research. As far as promoting it, I've been asked by government, where you guys sit on it, where's your council sit as far as promoting it? I said, I don't know, I haven't heard. I have a resolution, a piece of paper that said 7 agree, 2 disagree with it, so I have a resolution. But as far as promoting it, when you're out on a trip, if you're going to David Zimmer, if you're going to Ann Murphy, if you're going to Annalisa Harris, Carolyn Bennett, whoever, I don't know if you guys are even bringing that up. But what's happening is right now is that next month will be 2 years, 24 months since I pushed this. And it's cost me, I'll bet you over 10,000 of my own dollars on proposal writing. Because I don't get paid. And these proposals are 70 pages long. And the proposals I send to the government, and because it's an individual Indian project, even though it's drug and alcohol, even though it's needed, and we've gone through all of this, and it's a big discussion that we had. We just had a community output, and it was 324, was one of the highest priorities, the well-being and, you know, for all the members and the people. So to me, an adult drug and alcohol treatment center is really needed. And I don't know, I'm hanging in there. I have a non-for-profit number, I mean the board of directors, but I'm doing the best I can to get this to go. But I don't know how long it will. And if it's such a need for this community, everybody's talking about the opioids, fentanyl's coming in, we're gonna start losing people. And they're really scared of that. So if it comes to a point, shall I keep going and see if we can get the county or someone to help promote it and see if we can get it to work? Or if you guys could buy land and put one up, it doesn't matter, but it's needed. I've called OCA, I've called different places, and it's needed. Things are coming our way, and we have to prepare ourselves. It's been told to me by government officials, it's been told to me by other rehab centers. They've all told me that fentanyl's out of control. And unless you have Narcan, you have to be trained in Narcan, you have to be able to get to them before they pass away because they use their breathing. You have to eat Narcan, you gotta hit it. So it's coming this way, and I don't know what to do. I'm keep hanging in there month after month. Like next month will be 24 months. I've been working hard at it. And I've had I've got 2 hospitals, Riera Hospital and Ottawa on board. I have the Cornell Mental Institute next to the Hotel Blue on board. I have a lot of people that are absolutely all on board 100% that takes money. And if they're not going to fund me, my proposals, I wrote 6, and it keeps getting refused. It's just costing me all kinds of money. And I think it's an organization, it's a band council they're looking for to promote this. I don't know if you can do it as chiefs and promote it to help me, or do it yourself and build a building and you know, build a rehab yourself. I don't know. So I just wanted to update you that I'm still on it. Next month, May will be 24 months for me. And I even did a plan B. A plan B was I could take all my administration offices, I could turn them all into bedrooms. But I need help with the kitchen. I need a stove. The kitchen's in. The building itself is actually there. Plan B, I figure I put a proposal in for a little over 40,000, and that would have got everything ready for 6 patients for the beginning. But I need a commitment from the government, the long-term care, that they're going to pay for them beds for like a 5-year term. So that's where I'm at right now, is trying to work with Lynn Baxter with the health department. So it's a tough goal, but you know, somehow, if you can promote it somehow, or get the word out in the travels or whatever, that we're trying to establish it here. Because it's me.
All right, well, thank you for the update. I will say that you do have our letter of support, in which we still continue to support your project. And I do for myself on my travels, keep you in mind, and we'll continue to do that for you. So thank you for the update. Any other business from the floor this evening? All right, if not, we'll move ahead then. I want to thank all of you for coming out. I do have a resolution that I need to table this evening as part of the record to accept and approve the general meeting minutes of March 23rd, 2017. We have a mover, moved by Steve, second by Joe. Discussion? Questions been called on the resolution? All in favor? Any against? None against, it's carried. So our next general meeting will be May 25th at the Ganado Recreation Center, as well as our district meetings are 6 p.m. start times now. Galvanoga is May 8th, Justina is May 10th, as well as the Ganado is May 15th. So I want to thank all of you for coming out this evening. If you want any copies of the presentation that we did, or any material that was referenced, we're more than happy to make that available to you electronically. We are trying to reduce our paper. That's why a number of members use the iPad, because we have all of the documents on there electronically, or we can make paper copies available to you. So thank you very much for coming out this evening. As mentioned again, the video will be made available online, and you can make copies